It's the region's most popular talk show.
The Midlands Today Show with Will Faulkner.
Will Faulkner.
On Midlands 103.
Midlands 103.
A little earlier, you would have heard Sarah Macaulay from Portarlington describe the amazing sense of relief after her 6-month-old daughter, Cara, was declared cancer-free. And their previous best hope was that the tumour could be surgically removed. So you can imagine their delight at discovering that it has disappeared altogether. So while one family breathes a sigh of relief, I'd like you to meet another family who are holding their breath that a pioneering stem cell treatment will allow their daughter to live. Tom Barron and Lisa McGee both live in Portlaoise, and this morning they're here to tell you about their daughters Ellen and Grace, who want to say hello as well this morning. Guys, how are we doing?
Morning, Will. How are you?
How old are the girls?
Just going on 11 months now. So they're 11 months on the 14th of March.
And they were quite settled, and now they're waking up and they're feeling very chatty this morning. So tell us about Ellen.
Ellen is, she's a twin of little Grace that's sitting there on Mammy's lap. And I suppose Ellen and Grace came as a big surprise to myself and Lisa. They came as a surprise, as I said.
Unexpectedly.
Unexpectedly.
The stork delivered them.
Something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But a welcome surprise.
Very welcomed. Very welcomed. Ellen, I suppose if we can go back to our history with her brother first, we had lost our brother to a mitochondrial disorder in 2002. And when we found out we were pregnant again, it was a fear of ours that this genetic disorder would crop up again in the twins.
Mitochondrial disorder, for those who didn't really listen in biology class, the mitochondria of the cell is the powerhouse of the cell.
It is indeed, yeah.
What does the disorder do to affect that?
Basically what happens is it affects her muscularly, and the whole nervous system is all affected by it. You know, with Ellen, her bottom half of her body isn't, she can't move her legs and stuff the way that Grace is able to. She's a very limited movement. But it can affect neurologically also, which she is, from her MRI scan, it showed that there is damage there, you know. But progressively, they say that they deteriorate more and more as time goes on.
Right, so it'll be a degenerative condition.
It is, yes.
That's right.
Yes.
And is it a genetic condition, or what brings it about?
It is a genetic it definitely is, yeah. They say that mitochondria actually comes from the mum. But in our case with our son, because he was so severe, they said that it had to be something that came from both of us, a gene that came from both of us. But it generally, a mitochondrial comes from the mum, you know. But we were never tested or anything like that there, because there's a variety of different mitochondrials. And in our case, unfortunately, with our son, they knew it was mitochondrial, but they can't find to this day what type he is, or he was. And at the moment, Ellen has been investigated. They said that they're clear in their mind she has got the mitochondrial, and the MRI scan that was done on her showed up the exact same as her brother's when they compared the two together.
And how is Grace?
Grace is not affected. Now, in saying that there, she's progressing like any normal child. She doesn't seem to be affected by it. But she could be a carrier of it. So,
but so far, touch wood, she is 100%.
She's in the clear so far, yeah.
I know this is going to be painful, but can we turn back 10 years and talk about what happened? First of all, what was your son's name?
Christian.
And how long did Christian live?
Just 2 days away from 18 months. He passed away. So 18 months he lived for.
Wonderful 18 months, or a heart-wrenching 18 months, or how would you describe it?
I suppose he was our first child. Amazing experience. all over. Anybody who has children knows the day you found out you're pregnant and that day the child's delivered is, you know, amazing stuff. We were only youngsters, you know. I suppose we thought we had he was a lazy little lad on our hands, you know. He didn't do a whole lot, you know. Passed all his initial tests, his heel pricks and all the rest that were going on, passed them, no problems at all. And at about 4 months, our parents were speaking between themselves and saying, no, we think we have a bit of a problem here. How do we approach Tom and Lisa about this, you know? So Christian started picking up small chest infections, which he couldn't shake. So our mums told us to go to Drogheda, because we were residing in Dundalk at the time. Go to Drogheda Hospital and just get his chest checked out. And I suppose Lisa brought him to Drogheda. I was working at the time and not suspecting nothing serious really. And lo and behold, then everything unravelled very, very quickly from there.
It's just like a snowball effect, isn't it? Like
it's an awful thing, yeah.
And it was very heart-wrenching to... It was a harrowing time, in all honesty, like, you know, because your firstborn, your son, you know, and you just want to, I suppose, wrap him up in cotton wool.
And was it presented to you as inevitable at the time, or was there a treatment option back then?
I suppose there was a lot of confusion around it. I remember being on St. Patrick's Ward in Temple Street. They're amazing staff. You couldn't ask for better people to be looking after your son now. One day somebody would say, you know, he's getting worse. Next day he'd be better, and you'd always have that bit of hope that somebody'd walk in that door and say, we can do something for him. But then
magic tablets or something to
anything
do
at all.
to give you a miracle.
Yeah. But he was our son. Like, we never seen him as sick as he was, you know. And we were very inexperienced as well, I suppose. But come the big day, we were called up to the room we call it, you know. And Professor King gave us the bad news that children with a disorder as bad as Christian had wouldn't see 18 months. And that was the day our world ended, you know. So we basically lived between Temple Street, Drogheda hospitals, lived in hospital with him. And when we had him home, Lisa did all his nursing, which was pretty, yeah. You know, Lisa did a lot more because there's stuff I just couldn't do, you know. At the time, I was, you know, we were fairly badly shook up by it, you know, but we nursed them as best we could. Where did you get
support from? Were you, obviously you were together and you looked after each other, but were your families behind you? Who else?
100%. We great support from our families. Both of us come from absolutely amazing families. The support's immense. Jack and Jill, at the time of our son, were absolutely amazing. They came on board also, you know, and like we took on Christian's care ourselves. We didn't want anybody else looking after him, but Jack and Jill were absolutely amazing. They came on board also and guided us and stuff. They were there for us when we had bad days, you know, so that was Christian at the time, you know.
Jack and Jill were amazing at the time, yeah. Amazing. And I think Jack and Jill were only really kicking off at that time.
Yeah.
And
well, we're not sure, but yeah.
To us at that time they were, we never heard of them, but they were amazing to us, you know, and we'd put our hands up to Jack and Jill and say thanks very much, you know. We never got that chance to meet them and say it, but we're telling them now thanks very much, you know.
Well, I know people who have had, you know, the profound trauma of miscarriage, which doesn't even compare to what you had, a child for 18 months who you then lost. But women and dads as well to some extent can often say, well, I wonder if there's something wrong with me for having this miscarriage, and should we try again, or will it have the same result? Did you go through that sort of torture about having more children once Christian passed away?
We did. It was a crippling time for us, it really was, because, you know, all of a sudden you're 24 hours a day caring for your child, and all of a sudden it's just all taken away from you. So you're just in this dark hole where you're still trying to do the things for your child that's absent. It's gone now, you know, you can't do that anymore, and you're longing because as a mother, you long for that. You long for to do the nursing and be the mother. And I struggled a lot with the fact that I had a perfectly good womb, but the fear of having another baby was just too high. And we did discuss it, and it was on both of us, like Tom was absolutely terrified. And at one stage I really craved to have another baby. But then you go through the years thinking, okay, and you're accepting, but not accepting, if you understand what I mean, that you are a mother, but just not in the way you'd like to be. But yeah, it's just a hard one, like it's like a drug. You need it, but
But you're afraid to take it at the same time.
Yes.
What were your feelings and where were your emotions, Tom?
I suppose with the team in Temple Street at the time, being a genetic disorder, they said there's a 1 in 4 chance of it cropping up again with a new pregnancy. So I suppose from the trauma of the whole situation and just seeing Christian deteriorate and we could do nothing for him, that was very difficult to take. And we put all our trust in the medical people who were looking after him. I suppose my attitude afterwards was Lisa's to be protected. I went to sort of into the role of making sure Lisa was okay, and taking a step back from thinking about myself, which is a very strange. It just happens automatically, So always in my mind then was, no, it can't happen again. We can never see this happening again, and that's it, But over the years, as we were told in Temple Street one day by a parent who had lost a child, they said people can tell you they're sorry this, they're sorry that, and anybody who has lost a child will understand, or a person very close to them, that time is the only healer. Time, give yourself space and give yourself time to try to get your emotions back in line, and things that you lose along the way. You become sort of robotic after a while, doing the necessary things that have to be done. But mentally you lose part of yourself when you lose a child. You really do.
But you said earlier that these 2 wonderful girls were a surprise. So had you made a decision to try again, or did it just happen?
We actually didn't make a decision. It was actually, when we say a surprise, it was a
big surprise.
It was a very big surprise, because I actually thought that I was unwell, and I was being treated with antibiotics, and the last test then, because I still hadn't been feeling great, the last test then that the doctor could do was the pregnancy test, and I was like, no, that's going to be negative in anyway. But I was sat down and told, you're pregnant.
Okay, and the reaction was?
I cried my heart out, and it was fear. It was mixed emotions. It was fear of, you don't want to bring a baby into the world for them to be sick and to suffer, you don't want that. And automatically I had fear. And then, because I'd been on my own, I had the fear, I suppose, of saying it to Tom then, because it was one of our biggest, it was one of the biggest things that ever really did. It was massive, It
was massive.
But Tom embraced it. It took me a little bit longer to, but when I did come round, I suppose it was just the shock of it. But yeah, it was great then, But you go through your pregnancy then, of course, worrying, so we were never able to fully enjoy it.
And at what point were you able to find out about Ellen?
We actually found out ourselves. We were observing. There's no test could be done on the fetus or on the babies when they were born. There's absolutely no test that could do.
So you carried them for the 9 months, not knowing, and with this horrible, lingering, foreboding feeling hanging over you.
Mm-hmm. And then when the babies were born, it was down to us to observe the babies to see if there was any similarities with Christian and the babies, which all too soon it came about. you know, when she was 3 months old, when Ellen was 3 months old, we started noticing the signs straight away. And that's when it started again for us, you know.
I can't imagine how awful that was. And then it begs the question, what now? And we're going to come to that in a couple of minutes' time. We're also going to give you a chance to win €7,500 in cash after these. So at the moment, we're hearing a remarkable story and hopefully one that will have a happy ending. Tom Barron and Lisa McGee are in studio from Portlaoise and they have with them their daughters Ellen and Grace. But Ellen has mitochondrial disorder, and we've just been talking about the background to this and the horrible experience you had 10 years ago with Christian. So now you're faced with the same dilemma again, but 10 years on, technology has advanced. What options are there for Ellen?
The options, what they're trying to do in Ireland, all Ellen's blood tests and all have been sent everywhere. Being a mitochondrial disorder, they are saying that they're trying their best, but there's not a whole lot they can do, to be honest with you. The prognosis would be similar to her brother's. Now, in October when we found out, we start researching alternative treatments worldwide. The one that we have decided on moving on is the stem cell treatment, which is based in California in the US, and over a period of time, through contacting people who have had the treatment done, who have their children have had the treatment done, we've come to the decision, and an informed decision, that this is the best treatment for Ellen. It's non-invasive, where the treatments, the stem cell treatment in Germany was an invasive treatment, and they could do it on Ellen, but by use of spinal tap and
you're against that?
We won't have any invasive treatments done on Ellen. We've seen her brother going through the invasive treatments, and as in the muscle biopsies and all the rest, still no answers from all of those. So we made a decision on this on together when we were pregnant, and if one of the children or both of the children, when we found out they were twins, had the disorder, that we'd never let them do any invasive treatments again on the child. Christian suffered too much and we were too young to make a decision then. So it's a non-invasive treatment.
I notice you said that both of you were doing this research and both of you reached out to talk to people. What about our medical teams? Are they not giving you advice, or do you find you're having to do a lot of this grafting and homework yourself?
Portlaoise staff have said, they will back us 100% to go to wherever we want to go and do what we have to do. The medical staff, they want to help Ellen themselves as much as they can. But as parents and been here before, we know the outcome, and we've made a decision ourselves to go and have this treatment made, and that's.
If we're to keep Ellen here and not do anything, Ellen's fate is the same as her brother's. The doctor told us that it is the same as her brother's. But because she's not as severe at the moment as what Christian was at that age, she may have a little bit longer. But it wouldn't, she's the same fate as her brother.
It's not an outcome you want to contemplate anymore.
No, and if we keep Ellen here, she's going to be kept on vitamin C and Q10. And that's all they can do, and that's the only difference between her brother and now, is that he never had vitamin C or Q10. This is something new now. It's a new development on kids with mitochondrial, but it's not going to save them. What we're trying to do is save our daughter's life. That's our doll. She's our baby. You know what I mean? We don't want the same thing happening again. We want our daughter to have a life.
And based on your research, what is the best case outcome? What can you hope for if this treatment works?
What they're doing, they bring Ellen over first. We'll have a look at see what options we have when we're there. The doctors have Ellen's medical records, and they said yes, we can definitely help. So we'll take her over, and on the first treatment, what we can expect, what we're hoping to see, is a general improvement in Ellen's physical state. The second and third and fourth treatments, when necessary, should happen probably about 4 to 6 months. For the second treatment, will happen about 4 to 6 months after the initial treatment, and then we'll have to see it. It helps every patient in a different way. You see, so we just have the main hope now for the first treatment is to stem the tide of the disorder doing any more damage to Ellen, and then we'll move on and see how far the stem cells can help her from there, you know. So she's
adorable looking, isn't she?
Yeah, she's waking up.
She is.
She's snoring.
I wish you could see this. We should take a photo and pop it on Facebook, and just you could see how content and quiet she is, and she's just nestled in her daddy's arm. And is she always so easygoing?
She always is. She's so quiet. She's been through the mill, you know, but she's just, both of them were so lucky. Like, it smiles all the time. And
this other lady, Grace, she's altogether more talkative and chatty, isn't she?
She's getting stuck into her mother's makeup bag there, I see.
She's great, so she is. She kind of, I don't know, like Ellen started to take seizures there 2 weeks ago, three weeks ago. She started to take seizures, and the one particular day, the first day of the seizures, Grace happened to be sitting on the floor and just happened to turn around and see her sister, us looking after her sister in the seizure, you know. And it was a very strange but amazing thing to actually see, was that she's only an 11-month-old baby going on, and she just sat there and looked, and it was as if she knew, my sister, there's something not right with her, you know, because she didn't even breathe a word or what she'd normally do. She just like paused and just had a look at what was happening around her, and I was heartbroken to see that. Also, it was just as if she knew, you know,
because kids instinctively want attention, and they can crave attention, and if another child is getting that attention, there could be World War III. But she, on some level, must understand what's happening.
She seemed to be aware that something wasn't right. You know what I mean? So that's the other thing. They're twins, and she has to have her sister around her, you know what I mean? We need to fight for Grace to have her sister around too, you know? She needs to have her grow up with her, you know?
We've talked a lot about how the two girls are, but you're going through this again, and the first time was awful enough. How are the two of you coping and holding up now?
As a couple, we're very strong. We've stood together through the whole thing, you know. Plenty of support around us. Our families have been brilliant, as Lisa said. You just, as a parent, you just do what you have to do. You put up that wall and you go, and you just keep going and you keep going, you keep going.
Do you ever get angry? Do you ever feel, you know, when God was doling out luck, that he didn't send some more your direction?
You do feel very angry. Like, we're heartbroken, you know what I mean? We really are heartbroken. We never got over our son. Okay, time's a healer, but you don't get over losing your child. But then for lightning to strike twice, there's a lot of anger that has built up inside me, and I'm looking at Tom being heartbroken again. He's looking at me being heartbroken again, and she is a real daddy's girl, you know. She loves her dad. She's a real daddy's girl. She loves her mum, but she's a daddy's girl, you know.
She loves her dad more.
Like, I don't know, we seem to, if I'm having a bad day, Tom is on a level where he can support me, and vice versa. If he's having a bad day, we don't seem to have it together.
Luckily
we don't. So we're each other's shoulders to cry on, I suppose, you know, when things get tough. We're not the type to allow people to see how hurt we are. We try to protect our own families from that. But like behind our own door, we're devastated. We are heartbroken.
Of course you are.
We need to save Ellen. It's her life. We have to save our daughter.
I couldn't walk a mile in your shoes. I really couldn't, and I'm sure most people listening would be utterly devastated and not able to function, having gone through even a day of what you're going through. But to bring this back to cold brass tacks, unfortunately stem cell treatment comes at a price. What is that price?
The initial cost of the treatment we need to raise for treatment travel, everything that's involved, we need for the initial treatment to raise anywhere between 60 and 100 US. It's massive money.
That would cover like if she has to go back a second time also, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like the people that are organising the fundraising and stuff all over the country, really, they're fundraising that they're doing it in aid of the fact that they're trying to cover the 2 or 3 trips that we will have to make in the one go, so that it's there and there's no worry of it, of having to go back again. And yeah, like it's them that's doing all the organising and stuff on it also,
Well, we certainly wanted to give you every support we can, be it in terms of raising awareness of events, publicity. But if there are people listening who want to put their shoulders to the wheel and help out, how can they do it?
They can donate there's an Ellen Barron fund on Facebook. Sorry, that's our bad call. There's an Ellen Barron fund on her own page on Facebook, or log on to Tom Barron's page. You can donate through PayPal. On that, it's online, it's set up. You just donate through the thing. Now there's also the Bank of Ireland, a fund set up for Ellen in the Bank of Ireland that you can go in and donate into the Bank of Ireland yourself if you like. Also, we're aware that we're in a recession in this country, and we're proud people ourselves. You know what I mean? But like, it's not easy for people, and it's not easy to ask people to put their hand in their pocket. People just don't have it. We do understand that. But like, if it's the price of a cup of coffee that you could spare, just please donate it, because I'm begging for my daughter. I'm begging people to help us here, because I'm not going to go through this a second time with my daughter. I'm sorry, if it's like, there's good people in this country. There truly is good people. There's people that have been working on this that we don't even know who they are. There's a lady in Roscommon that got in touch because she wants to do something down there. And we just need to thank everybody that has helped, that are helping and that are going to help us. Because thank you is not big enough a word to tell all these people. But we have to save our daughter's life, so please just, if it's just the price of a coffee, just put it into the bank,
Lisa and Tom, we are 100% behind you, and I think I speak for absolutely everybody listening when I say our hearts are breaking for you. We wish you the very, very best, and our prayers and our thoughts are with you. Thank you so much for coming in to us.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
That's Lisa McGee and Tom Barron from Portlaoise.